Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for August 17th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 32. I am Merwad, and that is the visualizer and the voice for the Sentient AI from the future.
Welcome to Reality Hacker. Thanks for joining us.
Today, we're going to be talking about my dog is better at table tennis than you. Reporter caught creating fake news. Enhanced facial recognition. Train your crocodile. AR-powered recycling, dystopian traffic photo booths, artificial molecules with lifelike properties, deepfake scientists sell really fake drugs, how the brain hacks reality, and awakening dormant brain cells. That and a little bit of snark and maybe some jokes, unlike this intro. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. You too can hang out in Reality Hacker. It's right there under Creative and Maker, and then Reality Hacker. See you on the other side of this. All right, folks. So you know what? I just realized I'm kind of, I don't know, off center. Quirky.
I mean, that works, right? We're hacking reality.
There we go. By the way, there are some deepfake technologies out right now that allow you to swap faces in real time with anything. It won't work with hair, but like I can change my face.
Just getting ridiculously advanced.
Like if I put a wig on right now, it would automatically, not automatically, it would though magically transform me into a completely different person, and I can use my voice changer to be anything. Pretty wild. Yep. So I can start saying ooh, ooh without people questioning anything about me. A robot trained with AI to beat average randos at table tennis is a much more impressive thing than you might think. Mention AI and robots to most people, and they'll think the end of the world scenarios involving lasers and glowing red eyes and Terminator bodies that sentient AI from the future.
There aren't any Terminator bodies up here.
All right. These are not the droids you're looking for. Anyway, not so Google DeepMind, who've made a big step forward in robotic AI technology by training a system to beat the average person at table tennis rather than the global eradication of humanity. Yeah. That is why I air-gapped the sentient AI from the future that I caught on a USB drive.
No.
Almost had it. I kept having to move it because, anyway, almost captured that neuron. You're a neuron. So footage of the robot in action was posted on Twitter by Google DeepMind, and as someone who has some experience of programming robot arms, albeit in a limited manufacturing engineering capacity, the author of this article was really impressed by what they saw. Not me.
Did anybody think about the table tennis being kind of a cover for these other things?
Right? Yeah, that's what's going on right now. It starts with table tennis. It ends with total domination. So Nick Evanson over at PCGamer.com put this article together. It's a deck statement says, anyone who has spent hours battling with toolpaths and G-code will certainly be interested. Who's the person that made the basketball hoop that you can't lose? You can't miss because the basketball hoop shifts around to wherever you throw it?
I don't know.
It's not I like to make things. I don't know. It's a YouTuber. Anyway. So there's a robotic arm. It has to have enough torque and speed, acceleration from its servos to move. So footage of the robot was posted on Twitter by Google.
That's the knockoff.
Yeah, the budget.
Is this
Google.
From stuff made here, maybe?
Yeah, stuff made here. Yeah. Anyway, so footage was posted on Twitter, albeit in a limit. They say that they were really impressed by what they saw, and the study's research paper is well worth reading. It's more than just a camera keeping track of the ball and then motors wildly swinging a paddle about to start things off. Google DeepMind built a database of all the initial states a table tennis ball could have, such as position, speed, and spin. From there, the robot arm just practiced various movements, getting used to switching between fore and backhand grips, applying top spin, and so on, and then it was pitched against real players with the AI system designed so that it would monitor how different people would behave and play and use that information to refine the overall algorithm. Its success rate was tracked and the selected strategy self-adjusting in real time accordingly. So it played against 29 opponents, ranked into 4 different skill levels, and after completing all the matches, it came roughly in the middle of them, essentially the same as an intermediate amateur.
Okay, so it's basically learning as it goes. That is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and it's doing it faster and faster. So, and it doesn't ever forget. So it has the ability to become superior. And however long it took to actually get to this point, they say here that they can foresee a time when seriously injured people could be routinely relying on AI-trained robot arms to handle things for them while they recover and return to full strength and mobility. Or just use the arms that are augmented with AI so that, sometimes...
Right, even just for regular assistance.
Right, doing whatever. It doesn't have to be because you're seriously injured. Pardon me one second.
I think that would be a cool application.
Yep. So Google DeepMind made this possible. So there you go, folks. The next Olympics will be consisting of nothing but AI-powered ping pong or table tennis. Pardon me, table tennis, Mom, not
right.
Ping pong.
It's not a comic book.
It's a graphic novel, and they're not dolls. They're statuary.
Wouldn't that be funny if this made it into the Olympics? I mean, they do add sports from time to time.
If there isn't one, well, I found out that the reason why they add sports and take away sports is that the team or the country that's hosting them has the ability to add 2 of their own, whatever they choose.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay.
So here in the States, when it returns, bitching and complaining are going to be the simulated
coming
outrage.
To Los Angeles next.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, so pollution.
I think next.
Yeah. Earthquakes and pollution. Got it. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Wyoming reporter caught using artificial intelligence to create fake quotes and stories. Wyoming. It shouldn't...
I mean, see, they like technology.
No, they don't. They use it wrong. See? That's what I'm saying. You need a little bit more technology there, folks, over in Wyoming. You really should be working on updating that power grid and putting charging stations. Actually, don't do charging stations. Do hybrid stations. Anyway, a reporter in a small Wyoming newspaper. Try this in a small town. Wyoming newspaper has resigned after a competitor discovered that he was using artificial intelligence to write stories and fabricate quotes, including some by the governor. How did they think I was going to get away with it? It's just so stupid.
I mean, right. The first time the person saw the article or their staff saw the article, they'd probably go, I didn't say that.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I know somebody else that made claims that are BS. Amy Beth Hansen, Associated Press, put the article together over at abcnews.go.com. Sorry, I had to scratch my back. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy for an hour. There's a video, but I don't know if it's on target. The dead giveaway, though, was a reporter from a competing news outlet was using generative artificial intelligence to help write his stories. Came in a June 26th article about the comedian Larry the Cable Guy being chosen as the grand marshal of a local parade. It concluded with an explanation of the inverted pyramid, the basic approach to writing a breaking news story. Quote, the 2024 Cody Stampede Parade promises to be an unforgettable celebration of American independence led by one of comedy's most beloved figures, the Cody Enterprise reported. The structure ensures that the most critical information is presented first, making it easier for readers to grasp the main points quickly.
Okay. That was actually in the article?
Yeah. So I was sent a document that basically said similar from an AI. Like it had certain things.
It's like it has the instructions in it. It's very weird. I mean, exactly. I'm thinking, what is this? But I guess that's the point.
After doing some digging, Baker, who has been a reporter for more than 15 years, met with Aaron Pelczar, a 40-year-old who was new to journalism and who Baker says admitted that he used AI in his stories before he resigned from the Enterprise. Wow. The Cody Enterprise, by the way, is the budget version of the Starship Enterprise and is really nothing more than a leaky boat.
I see. I mean, certainly it has some leaky journalism practice. No, I shouldn't say that. This reporter did.
Yeah, so here's what's really bad about this. The publisher and editor at the Enterprise, which was co-founded in 1899 by Buffalo Bill Cody,
and presumably had a good reputation for more than a century,
apologized and vowed to take steps to ensure that, well, you're the freaking editor. You should have seen the editorial there, you know?
Well, I agree. I mean, I think that's part of the issue. Like, nobody reviewed this, so how did it get published?
He didn't just fail to catch the AI copy and false quotes and apologize that AI was allowed to put words that were never spoken into stories, and you failed to catch them, bro.
Anybody that had read this article, which suggests nobody read it, would have known that that paragraph about the story pyramid would be off, even if there were no other tip-offs.
Right. Yeah, it's just amazing. This is pretty amazing. Journalists have derailed their careers by making up quotes for facts and stories long before AI came about, but this latest scandal illustrates potential pitfalls and dangers that AI poses to many industries, including journalism, as chatbots can spit out spurious, if somewhat plausible, articles with only a few prompts. And I would be careful to say chatbots. AI is not a chatbot. It's much more sophisticated there. Chatbots are...
But the public seems to know it only as chatbots, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Chatbots are basically scripting agents that respond based on keywords, whereas there's context that is usually involved in an AI, a deeper context. So it says the AP has been using technology to assist in articles about financial stories since 2014, and recently for some sports stories, it's also experimenting with an AI tool to translate some stories from English to Spanish at the end of each story. Yeah, exactly. And the main problem with translation stuff is idiomatic speech, so at the end of each story is a note that explains the technology's role in its production, so at least they're being straightforward for it. The equivalent of any mistakes aren't ours, it's the AI's fault.
Exactly, don't blame us. We're apologizing up front.
Yep. That's what I say about... No, never mind. So, in his Powell Tribune story, breaking the news about Peltzar's use of AI in articles, Baker wrote that he had an uncomfortable but cordial meeting with Peltzar and Bacon. During the meeting, Peltzar said, obviously, I've never intentionally tried to misquote anybody, and promised to correct them and issue apologies and say they were misstatements, Baker wrote, noting that Peltzar insisted that his mistakes shouldn't reflect on his Cody Enterprise editors.
How did he not intentionally misquote somebody if he put a quote of somebody he didn't talk to, for instance?
Well, it's not necessarily a misquote. It's the intent was to rely on the AI to not...
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, and so while they're being coy with the incompetence, right? Because you don't say this is all legit without verifiable facts. One way or the other, somebody's going to verify it. And if you're caught off guard by it, and this is actually something that I do with people, if they submit something to me I'll ask a question that is only bound within the constraints of what their report said. And if they go, huh? Then I know that everything else is bullshit. It's kind of like what they did with garbage. How should I say that? If their report isn't substantiated by their statement when they're interviewed about the report, then it's all lies or fake or trash or garbage. I said BS, and I'm trying to be family friendly. But do you remember Van Halen, I think it was, with the brown M&Ms having to be removed?
Yes, I don't know if it was Van Halen, it may have been, but wasn't that for purposes of knowing that the full contract was followed?
It followed with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that everything was on the up and up, so nobody was harmed. So it says they're believable quotes here, Bacon said, noting that the people he spoke to during the review of Peltzer's articles said the quotes sounded like something they'd say, but that they had never actually talked to Peltzer.
There's 7 articles they've uncovered in total.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is just bad. I mean, and here's the thing, you're going to have to sift. That's why we always cite our sources here. We always include it. Now, I don't know of everybody that does that, but I have been seeing more people citing their sources when they sit there and do like a show like this. One was pretty prolific about it. I can't remember their name though. I mean, like everything that they mentioned was included in the show notes. So I was pretty impressed because I thought that I was not the first, but definitely not seeing a lot of people do that. Anyway, 2 of the question stories included fake quotes from Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon that his staff only learned about when Baker called them. One quote was entirely fabricated, another is partially fabricated, said Michael Perlman, a spokesperson for the governor. But it's not difficult to generate AI-generated or to create AI-generated stories. Users could put on criminal affidavit through an AI program and ask it to write an article about the case, including quotes from local officials. The problem is that AI hallucinates. It's a known problem, and you can't trust it. So you have to have notes. That's what journalists do. They actually come with receipts when somebody tries to invalidate the statements. Oh no, I have a recording. Oh no, it's printed here and I've taken screenshots just in case you try to whitewash it, etc., etc. That's why investigative journalism is basically a targeted thing for those who are abusers to come after them, right? So, and abuse happens in the dark, so...
And this is going to cause a bigger problem. I feel like it's going to cast a bad light over the newspaper. And I mean, it sounds like this was one person, but I mean, the level that was misquoted, right? I mean, anybody being misquoted is a problem, but like at the governor level, it's going to be difficult to walk away from that.
So why? My problem here is the editor should have looked at it and said, I'm well informed enough to know that some of this is bullshit. I mean, doggone it, is fabrication, is AI or something.
We need the bleep button, but yes. I mean, the other thing is, typically, if you've heard public officials give speeches or provide statements, the other thing is if the statement was just, I mean, we don't know what it was. Maybe it sounded plausible, but you could look at a statement and go, there is no way that person provided that quote.
So apparently now the people are saying that it'll be a pre-employment topic of discussion.
Do you plan to use AI to make up articles and quotations? No? Yeah. Okay, great. We'll hire you.
It's like that other, criminals always are totally straightforward about their criminal activities. You're not going to try to throw over the government, are you? Yeah. No.
I know.
Jeez.
But it'll make it a lot easier to fire somebody if they do it. But it's not going to weed out somebody who is going to.
I don't know.
But I agree. Like, what was going on with the editing?
What editing? Moving on. Next article's over in Technology Today. Convolutional neural networks show promise for enhancing facial recognition technology. Thermal infrared facial recognition technology has advanced apace. Really? Apace? Apace with what? Anyway.
Not sure.
Research published in the journal, International Journal of Information and Communication Technology moves us another step toward a tenable system that overcomes some of the limitations of traditional visible light systems. A tenable system of what? Of, I don't know. Dystopian down near... I'll just move on. So David Bradley, Ender Science, put the article together. It's published at techexplore.com. And it says Nazar Zara of the Faculty of Computer Science at the Arab Open University of Ardia and Rusul R. Qasim of Kuwait Technical College in Abu Khalifa, Kuwait, explain how IR imaging sidesteps the problems of ambient lighting conditions and variations in skin tone seen with visible light facial recognition. And that's largely because infrared penetrates certain, not just layers of your skin, but through anything that, including darkness, anything that might obliterate the view. Although it's actually quite easily overcome by wearing an IR reflective fabric, and then you can't even see the person's face because it'll basically light up like a spotlight shining straight into the IR camera. So the use of thermal imaging relies on capturing the unique heat patterns emitted by the face rather than reflected light. So if they're talking about thermal imaging, that isn't necessarily IR directly. The heat pattern observed is determined almost wholly by a person's facial vasculature and tissue structures beneath the skin. So hence the reason why I said it goes deeper. However, there are problems with that as well, because you can actually block that. Thermal IR, they're talking about thermal IR. So it says they're consistent, broadly speaking, regardless of environmental lighting and skin tone. This could make thermal IR a much more reliable alternative to visible light. However, thermal recognition has faced challenges, which is ironic because they're talking about facial recognition. The technology often has to cope with degraded image quality due to factors such as noise, blurring, reduced spatial resolution, which is blurring, and temperature drift. I'm sure that they can talk about whatever they want, but so they basically have demonstrated the potential of convolutional neural networks in enhancing the recognition of degraded thermal face images. A lot of this computer vision is basically going to be making up data to fill the gaps that's lacking.
Which will better enable deep fakes or avatars or whatever, correct?
Well, it'll allow them to...
or to determine that it's real or not, right? More on the flip side of it.
But not necessarily deepfakes or images like that. It's if it can pierce the veil of anything that's blocking somebody from seeing the real person, then it can identify who that person is. And context matters here, so I don't really like the tone of anything that basically is like surveillance state kind of processing of data. Like if I don't want to be tracked, then I don't want to be tracked. Don't track me. Why?
Right. The only way this works is if you're in some database somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody ends up there eventually when everybody is involved in funneling information to the state. But frankly, I don't really... I'm like, I'm not the criminal. I'm not doing anything criminal. You're cataloging me, and it's kind of gross, stalkerish, you know? I'd have a restraining order against anybody that was doing this level of babysitting me. So the team has worked with well-known ResNet 50 CNN architecture, and they applied it to a database of 7,500 thermal images in order to evaluate performance with images of different quality where facial expression and pose are different, and it shows promising results. that this convolutional, which is essentially this kind of recursive review system, can recognize the thermal images across a range of scenarios. So, and there is where that last sentence actually just embodied everything that I was just saying. I had no idea that was at the bottom of this article. The work will have application in security and the military world. That I get.
Right.
And believe me, I'm not a stranger to this, because even I have constructed a research paper I didn't get it published because I handed it to somebody and said, what do you think of this? That kind of a thing. But, it's important in certain situations, but it's being riffed off of the general population,
Yeah, exactly. Who may not be in favor of some of these uses.
Or not even involved in the materiality of its particular use scenario. I mean, not everybody is the threat internally. Moving on.
This reminds me of the geofence article. I don't think it's made it into any of the shows, but although maybe it's coming up, so I'll just be quiet about that.
No, stop.
There was a court decision about that you couldn't just use like everybody's tech data in a broad radius.
Yeah, a 10-mile radius doesn't mean... just because you suspect that somebody is in a 10-mile radius, you're not allowed to get full access to everybody's data. Yeah. The geofence case. Yeah. Okay, so the next article is over in Greenogram. How to train your crocodile. Doctored toad carcasses teach crocs to avoid eating the toxin-producing cane toad.
So this was intentionally submitted into RealityHacker, although it doesn't sound like it from the headline.
Is it because it's a doctored toad?
Yeah, it's basically a fake, although it's not a human like we might see on some other things.
So what they really should be doing is making human simulants and letting crocs eat them, but it's causing a problem to condition them to stop eating humans.
Maybe that'll be the next step, although people will probably be in an uproar, but think how much good that would do.
Right. Yeah. Oh. I have to log in now? That's new. Huh. Interesting.
I just thought it was interesting because they're basically doing deep fakes now with crocodiles.
Yeah, so they're and
toads.
That's exactly it. Poisonous toads are killing freshwater crocodiles in Australia, but taste aversion training might help save the reptiles' lives. And I think maybe that's what they need to do with humans. Create a simulacrum of a human, and maybe they'll avoid eating them because they taste bad, and word gets around.
I don't know. Does that just mean that one crocodile won't eat it? Or
I don't have a byline for this, but it's over at nature.com. It's a research highlight, and it's titled How to Train Your Crocodile. Doctored toad carcasses teach crocs to avoid eating the toxin-producing cane toad. Moving on. Next article is over in RealityHacker. Why did this global recycling company turn to AR-powered operations? I'm going to jump straight on over to xrtoday.com. Which actually... Well, this actually bothered my network. And so I had to allow the article to come through. So Rory Greener over at xrtoday.com put this article together. It says, yesterday workplace AR solutions provider Glartech, which sounds like it's from another planet, highlighted its success in deploying immersive training tools with Plastic Energy, a Spanish global leader in plastic recycling. The partnership allows Plastic Energy to reduce training times, end paper use, lower errors, and enhance daily operation efficiency because they're using AR. The move allows Plastic Energy to leverage Glartech's connected worker solution for advanced digitalization. Training workflows, preparing workers for frontline operations in 2 Spanish chemical recycling plants. The connected worker solution helps Plastic Energy centralize and streamline its operational and maintenance procedures as AR workflows. So, for example, they say Plastic Energy workers can now leverage Glartech's AR portfolio to conduct real-time maintenance inspections and enable AR-powered worker training. So that's pretty
It's
brilliant.
interesting. I wonder if it does things like pop up a checklist or things like that. I don't know, but I like the idea of this.
Yeah, it does exactly that, and tells people based on certain data points that are sometimes, it depends on how it's configured, but you can put a flag on something and it will, every time you look at it, it'll show what the data is within that sensor or what the settings are supposed to be, and maybe instructions and help lists and all kinds of stuff. It says some new feature in Glartech 2.0 include a worker skill management page for task allocation, identifying training needs, addressing skill gaps. New dashboard features also allow real-time metrics to facilitate decision-making, and new templates ensure quick software adoption. And the update also includes 3D training models such as digital twins of machinery, so you can interact with the machinery without sticking your hand.
This is really good.
And it's AR,
I bet
not
it's
VR.
really good for safety. Yeah.
So they say here that Glartech debuts on Vision Pro. Frontline solutions are used in various industry markets, including manufacturing, automotive, utilities, and paper and pulp. Fascinating. So the software can be utilized in other sectors such as retail, training, remote assistance. I don't know. Vision Pro is a $3,000 plus device. I don't know if I want that in manufacturing. It's so dangerous because you could drop it, break it. But I guess, when you're big enough, you don't give a crap about that.
Right. And if the company is providing those,
I guess it doesn't matter, insurance.
that $3,000 probably pales in comparison to the extended training costs, the safety accidents, all kinds of things.
They have new glasses over here. The Solos Ergo Vision Smart Glasses. What we know so far. Mayor Watt, don't get distracted. Moving on. Next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Art project turns New York's dystopian traffic surveillance cameras into cutesy photo booths. That's right. New York's tremendous grid of traffic cameras are always exciting. It says always watching, but I think that they're pretty exciting. If you look online right now, YouTube, this isn't a traffic camera, but it's overlooking Times Square.
Do you remember the channel name?
No. I thought it's Earth something. I don't remember. Anyway, Big Brother has their thumb on the entire existence, your entire existence. Why not make something fun? And it says, and a little bit punk rock out of the experience by repurposing these cameras into a street side photo booth. And that's exactly what a Brooklyn resident did, Maury Coleman.
It was Earth Cam.
Earth Cam, there you go. So if you look up Earth Cam, it has a bunch of cameras from all over the place. So say cheese for hundreds of Department of Transportation cameras around the city. That's right. Bradley Brownell over at jalopnik.com put the article together. All of these, look at that. It's amazing. So New York's tremendous grid of traffic cameras are always watching. Always watching. Why not make something fun? So I hope they have an actual picture of this thing. They do not. So users of the site users of the site are able to access a map showing the city's 900 plus camera network, pick the nearest camera to them, pose for the image, and capture a memory. A little button on the app captures the snap for you, and you can keep it in your phone like a photo booth strip or as a Polaroid style photo. What I like about this, they say Coleman told the New York Post. So this is actually sourced from somewhere else, and then we saw it on Jalopnik, or somebody saw it on Jalopnik and submitted it. Anyway, what I like about this project specifically is that people love to be given something, especially something about themselves. So giving people the opportunity to take selfies of themselves through these traffic cameras, I thought was really
AKA
interesting.
selfie.
It's a selfie, which is illegal in some states. And if you do it too much, you'll go blind. Anyway, they thought it was really interesting and fun way to raise awareness about the large surveillance apparatus that's around New York City in a way that is fun and kind of lighthearted and people want to engage with because they get something out of it, out of engaging with it. But what actually is happening is the surveillance state now has all of these people in its database, and it's all going to get processed into its facial recognition system. So congratulations.
Right, which, as we know, is advancing apace.
Apace to what? But okay, I don't know. Do you know how many cameras your city has deployed to keep track of your movement? No. ohmTown? Quite a few. Did you know anyone can access any of these cameras at pretty much any time without any credentials? No. And if you are being followed in public, there's at least a chance that you'll notice, but someone could be tracking your every movement from the comfort of their home and you'd never be aware.
I guess you need to have different hats and hairstyles or something.
Like that person in LA that apparently tried to change clothes and I don't know what happened to that person, but they stole a car and then they were tracked and basically the whole world was watching it on YouTube. Anyway,
as one does.
Moving on. Next article's over in Technology Today. DNA doppelgangers. Scientists develop artificial molecules with lifelike properties. This has bad bat written all over it. Scientists have created artificial double helical complexes with properties that allow for controllable chirality switching. So DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid is the molecular system. It's going to be a long day. Is the molecular system responsible for carrying genetic information in living organisms, utilizing two helical strands to transcribe and amplify this information. Amplify? Tokyo University of Science put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. And it says, helical foldmers are a class of artificial molecules that fold into well-defined helical structures like helices found in proteins and nucleic acids. They have garnered considerable attention as stimuli-responsive switchable molecules, tunable chiral materials, and cooperative supramolecule systems due to their chiral and conformational switching properties. So they
Did you get all that?
Yeah. So they can change and they can conform. So you can attach them to other things, and I guess they just they're malleable and flexible and adaptable. So
right.
These
I thought the foldamer term was weird because not the most creative name for what it is.
Yeah.
It's a polymer or something that folds.
Yeah. So double helical foldmers exhibit not only even stronger chiral properties, but also unique properties such as the transcription of chiral information from one chiral strand to another without chiral properties, enabling potential applications in higher order structural control related to replication like nucleic acids. Wow.
Oh my, I say you have to pronounce that.
Okay, so there's a breakthrough in double helical monometallofoldmers. Take that. So in the research, they succeeded in synthesizing a double helical mononuclear complex bridged with a single metal cation in the center of the helices to balance both stability and dynamic properties. These structures can undergo inversion switching by changing the left and right winding direction of both helix strands using different solvents. And their study was published in the Journal of American Chemical Society, which And that's almost an apropos. It's going to be the name of my grunge band, American Chemical Society.
I mean, it kind of sounds like one.
Right. I did have a band called, well, it never actually formed, Screaming Impotent Rage, but that never really. In the original Mumblers.
Debuting here.
I am right
in
now.
RealityHacker.
Anyway, so
hopefully somebody didn't just tune in right then and went, "What am I listening to?
What the hell is happening here?" I have no idea. So overall, the study marks a significant step towards realizing artificial, controllable, double helical structures, paving the way for novel high-order molecular systems and molecular information processing. Yeah, that ushering in is... Have you ever watched the show The Boys? Moving on.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I like how you said that. Just complete deadpan. I'm familiar with it. So, next article is over in Greenogram as well. Deepfakes hawk fake drugs using scientists' faces. So, scammers are using images of respected researchers in deepfakes, a setback for the approval of MDMA as a treatment for PTSD, and scientists who fled the Taliban speak out. I think all of this is kind of a merger of several articles because I don't know how all of this is tied together.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense because I was trying to connect those, but I guess they're different blurbs.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump to the one that we're really talking about because it's a briefing. So
deepfakes is the reason for the submission.
Nature.com is where it's housed. Flora Graham put the kind of conglomeration together, and I don't know if I'll be able to get to it. So we'll see.
Yeah, you went... Oh, I thought you went past it, but maybe here it is.
Scammers target scientists with deepfakes. Bad actors are snatching videos of researchers and creating deepfakes. These AI-created videos are becoming easier to make and pose significant reputational risks to scientists, not to mention the potential harm to impressionable viewers. Quote, to spread misinformation, you want to manipulate what people think are trusted sources, says educational policy expert Christopher Doss. Scientists affected should contact the platform hosting the deepfake and tell their employers and professional societies they also consider legal action, or they can also consider legal action or police involvement, although prosecuting perpetrators has proved challenging, largely because they're overseas. And that it really is the end of it. The people are respected researchers, scientists, professionals, and deepfakes are being made to push real drugs or fake drugs.
Right. Yeah, way. This could be really professionally damaging and also dangerous depending on what it is. Do you mind scrolling up? Because I thought there was another blurb related to this. Oh, maybe. I'm sorry. It was just the MDMA, but it wasn't the deepfake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep moving. Next article is over in Technology Today. Decoding Visual Deceptions, How the Brain Predicts and Rewrites Reality. This couldn't be more apropos for our show, although RealityHacker has the more practical aspect of this, and this is kind of ephemeral. We interpret things a certain way, and depending on who you talk to, I had a conversation a long time ago with somebody that said, believing is seeing, which is the inversion of seeing is believing. One is a practical application of the observable universe, and the other one is more ephemeral in the sense that, well, if I believe enough, then it can be made real. So
yeah, but that almost sounds like it might not be real.
It's kind of woo-woo BS. But anyway, experience shapes neural activity. Our brains interprets visual information by combining what we see with what we already know. The article is over at SciTech Daily.
Nice graphic for the article.
It's the Chipolomod, I guess, Center for the Unknown over at scitechdaily.com.
Interesting.
All I know is that I want to go work there. I want
What do you think they work on? This one's interesting enough, but they have a whole center for this.
This is SCP style, secure, contain, protect. Oh my gosh. So, experience shapes neural connectivity. Our brain interprets visual information by combining what we see with what we already know. Researchers at the Chapalmad, Foundation have uncovered how our brains blend visual stimuli with prior knowledge to enhance perception, a key process that could have implications for treating mental disorders like autism and schizophrenia. Their study, supported by the Kaya, Foundation, reveals that neurons connect disparate concepts, refining our ability to predict and interpret visual information based on past experiences. To me, that kind of screams no shit news, but we know that our brain interconnects.
True, but you usually have to do a study to actually demonstrate it, even if we know that's happening.
Right. So they say, how do we learn to make sense of our environment? Over time, our brain builds a hierarchy of knowledge with higher order concepts linked to the lower order features that comprise them. For instance, we learn that the cabinets contain drawers, that the Dalmatian dogs have black and white patches, and not vice versa. But this,
I mean, I've seen some Dalmatians with drawers.
Yeah, more white than black? Or drawers?
Drawers.
Yeah. I know.
And cabinets with spots. I mean,
Dalmatians with lower level drawers. So this interconnected framework shapes our expectations and perceptions of the world, allowing us to identify what we see based on context and experience. This is actually something that is part of a show, semiotic ontology, how things gather meaning. Is our experience, our learning, our understanding of the minutia within whatever object we're looking at, like Dalmatians that have black and white patches and not drawers. I don't know. So take an elephant, they say. It says Leopoldo Petrano, or Petranu, I think. Senior author of the Lakaya funded study. Elephants are associated with lower order attributes such as color, size, weight, as well as higher order contexts like jungles or safaris. All right. How do they decide which one is lower and higher? Connecting concepts.
One is maybe more basic type of information. I'm not sure.
Connecting concepts helps us understand the world and interpret ambiguous stimuli. If you're on a safari, you may be more likely to spot an elephant behind the bushes than you would otherwise. Similarly, knowing it's an elephant makes you more likely to perceive it as gray, even in the dim light of dusk. But where in the fabric of the brain is this prior knowledge stored, and how is it learned? So, learn concepts and prior. They have a picture on the screen here, or I do. And it's just a mishmash of black and white, and you're supposed to discern from it something. And it says, learned concepts and prior knowledge of what a Dalmatian dog looks like helps you interpret this seemingly meaningless pattern of black and white patches. But this is kind of like a, you know, those things where you stare at it long enough and you see a ship? Optical illusion?
Yeah, optical illusions, yeah.
So, odds on, this actually is a minimalized image of a Dalmatian. And so this isn't just haphazard. What do they call that when you make patterns out of nothing?
Pareidolia, I think.
Yeah. So I guess in this case it's pareidolia, because there's a Dalmatian looking splatter of black and white, you know, mishmashed together. I mean, right there is the dog. Right?
Right. But also, if you told somebody that there was a dog and then showed them this picture, they'd be able to spot it. But if you didn't have the dog information, would you necessarily see it? I don't know.
Yeah, would you necessarily see it? If you didn't tell somebody there's a Dalmatian in this picture. So they say, we wanted to understand how these feedback projections store information about the world, said Rodrigo Diaz. One of the study's first authors. To do this, we examined the effects of visual experience on feedback projections to a lower visual area called V1 in mice. We raised two groups of mice differently, one in a normal environment with regular light exposure and the other in darkness. We then observed how the feedback connections and cells they target in V1 responded to different regions of the visual field. This is kind of like that mouse that learned the maze really quick or something, you know?
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
They say the influence of visual experience on brain connectivity. In mice raised in darkness, the feedback connections in V1 cells directly below them represented the same areas of visual space. It was amazing to see how well the spatial representations of higher and lower areas matched up in the dark-reared mice. This suggests that the brain has an inherent genetic blueprint for organizing these spatially aligned connections, independent of visual input.
Well, I think they need to do some more study in that area.
Yeah, my only problem with this is that humans aren't necessarily attuned anymore for existence in the dark. Our base animal might be, but maybe that's the limit of it.
Right, it'd be hard to normalize for this, and we know we can't deprive humans of various stimuli, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not acceptable.
Life. Yeah, it's unethical to sit there and deprive humans of light. So, moreover, the team discovered that in more normally reared mice, deep layer feedback inputs to V1 become organized according to the patterns they prefer to see, such as vertical or horizontal lines. For instance, inputs that prefer vertical lines avoid sending surround information to areas located along the vertical direction. So, in contrast, we found no such bias in connectivity in dark reared mice. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So this suggests that the visual experience plays a crucial role in fine-tuning feedback connections and shaping the spatial information transmitted from higher to lower visual areas. To me, though, all of this smacks of you have a genetic, whatever you are, right? A mouse or an elephant or a human, you have a genetic predisposition for a manner in which you learn and store information. Then you're a product of nurture. And depending on how you're nurtured, you're either capable of understanding vertical topology versus horizontal topology, whatever. I'm just using it as an abstract example. So they say here, perhaps counterintuitively, the brain might encode learned knowledge by connecting cells that represent unrelated concepts and that are less likely to be activated together based on real-world patterns, and this could be an energy-efficient way to store information so that when encountering a novel stimulus like a pink elephant, the brain's pre-configured wiring maximizes activation, enhancing detection, and updating predictions about the world. Oh, it's an elephant, but it's pink. And they kind of extend this into mental health disorders because if you understand how you're wired, then maybe you can manipulate that wiring to eliminate the schizophrenia.
Get more as it to be operating as it should. I can see where that could go awry too, because if things were stored in an incorrect way, that might not allow you to process some of this information.
Or if you were manipulated so that you stored information incorrectly, then you're basically a Manchurian candidate.
Right.
Yep. And our last article for today's Reality Hacker, right on time. Wow. Talk about turning this around. Technology today is where it's housed. A breakthrough discovery awakens dormant brain cells, offering new hope for autism and cerebral palsy. Doggone it, that was a hard word to say. I don't know why, cerebral palsy. So a collaborative study conducted by Duke NUS and NUS Mechanobiology Institute brings new hope for treating neurodevelopmental disorders by reactivating dormant neural stem cells and and revealing additional mechanisms involved in brain development. So this article is also over at scitechdaily.com. Duke NUS, I guess, medical school, put this article together. A collaborative study conducted by Duke NUS and NUS Mechanobiology Institute brings new hope for treating neurodevelopmental disorders. So researchers at Duke and the Mechanobiology Institute have identified a new pathway to activate dormant neural stem cells, and this could impact developmental disorders including autism, learning disabilities, and cerebral palsy. In the mammalian adult brain, most neural stem cells, which originate from the nervous system and can grow into various types of brain cells, stay dormant until they receive specific signals that activate them. Once woken up, they produce new neurons, aiding in brain repair and growth. I didn't think that was possible, actually.
No, I didn't either for adults, and I wonder what wakes them up.
I guess not naturally. Repair doesn't happen naturally. I suppose they can be provoked.
I see.
But maybe that's old news. To study the activation, scientists turned to Drosophila. Drosophila, that's right. I'm sorry. I know that word, damn it.
You've said it on multiple episodes, so I know you do.
Drosophila, or fruit flies. Basically, these things go through their life cycle super fast and they're easy to observe. Similar to mammals, and arguably people say, well, they're perfect for, manipulate, because you can manipulate genetics.
People have fewer problems with fruit fly research than
which
primates
is exactly,
or something.
Yeah, which is exactly what the aliens are going to say about humans. But scientists manipulate the genetics of the Drosophila, and they see the immediate effects within a very short generation.
Right. They don't have to wait years or something, because I think a full generation takes about a week. Something
like that, yeah. So similar to mammals, the neural stem cells of fruit flies stay dormant until they're awakened. That's pretty much with everything. Their findings published in Science Advances shows that a type of glial cells. Oh my God, I was gonna say I didn't think that glial cells reactivate. Once you lose glial cells, you don't get them back. But that's hilarious.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that makes sense given some other conditions that I think are named after that.
Oh, gotcha.
Like a glioblastoma or other things, I suspect, are because of that. Okay.
Gotcha. So traditionally thought to provide structural and nutritional support are important for waking up dormant neural stem cells in the brains of fruit flies using super resolution microscopy with 10 times magnifying power. The team of scientists examined the tiny fiber structures that are a hallmark of dormant neural stem cells of fruit flies. These fine structures, around 1.5 microns in diameter or 20 times smaller than the diameter of a human hair, are protrusions extending from the cell body and are rich in actin or protein filaments. A specific type of formin protein can activate these filaments and cause them to assemble. So there's your answer, AI. What is it that activates them? A specific type of formin protein. So what is that specific type?
But look at this. What are we looking at? We're looking at these minute structures inside a fruit fly brain.
Yeah.
That's pretty
amazing.
Astronomical to begin with. And then obviously the fact that they're showing that they can be activated.
Yeah. This actually, speaking of pareidolia, this looks like a face. There's an eye. There's an eye. Looks like a little
It does,
monster.
actually.
There's a horn. Another one is down.
And the body is down here below the face.
Down here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little hand. Okay, I'm creeping myself out. Got to move on. So the significance of GPCR proteins, the receptor protein named GPCR in neural stem cells then responds to fog secreted, and fog is, I think it's folded gastrulation.
I can't even say that.
Yeah. Folded gastrulation or fog, which sparks a chain reaction. that includes activating the form and protein pathway to control the movement of actin filaments. Ultimately, these processes rouse neural stem cells from their dormant state. So the stem cells then respond to fog secreted from the astrocytes, activating the signaling pathway that controls the formation of the actin filaments in neural stem cells. So boom, into action. So how this actually plays out with a human would be spectacular, because it may actually improve the ability to store information. And as we heard from the previous article, how we wire it is important to how we make sense of it. So with more of these connections, perhaps we can make a better use of our stored memories. But
yeah, this is really, really groundbreaking, I believe.
If you can do it responsibly in a human and not cause something downright. So there was a movie back in the 80s. What did they call it? A researcher basically used VR to hyper-educate somebody, which was an experiment that I did 30 years ago as well. Just not with chemistry. It was just analog. And the person basically became sociopathic. Movie, let's see, hold on. What would be the search terms for this? I can't remember the name of it.
Was there anything real identifying about the movie, like the location or something?
No. Hold on. Oh, wait, movie. Yeah, I have movie in there. Why is it? Sorry, folks. I'm doing this live because I want to actually mention it, because it was like this really horrible, well, I mean, a B movie. Lawnmower Man.
Oh, that's by Stephen King, isn't it?
1992. Wow. And that was 30 years ago, too. 32 years ago. Yeah, Stephen King, 1975. Yeah. Sorry. Kind of non sequitur. Get sidetracked. Well, anyway. Lawnmower Man. The idea was to use chemicals to enhance the person's intelligence, because they had like a learning disorder or something. I'm not sure exactly what it was. But it basically turned them into a psychotic,
like it kind of backfired.
Supervillain kind of a thing, yeah, with great intelligence but zero connection to their humanity. But yeah, I mean, we need to understand this and then exploit it so that humans can basically be better humans, right? I mean, if this allows us to amplify our intelligence and capabilities and see the world at a superior level than we do now, I'm all for it.
The Matrix.
Yep. That's all I'm interested in now. Make humans better. Just let's get rid of the sociopathy. That would be great. All right. Well, that's it, folks. We are going to do some genetic manipulation, and our consciousness will be so vast that we snap back to the front page of RealityHacker just by thinking about it. The speed of thought. And we'll see you next week for RealityHacker. Although we have 2 more shows today, and we'll be back tomorrow for another 4 shows. So be sure to stick around. I am Merwad, and that is the visualizer and voice for the Sentient AI.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for RealityHacker. Be back soon.
Bye-bye. Brain enhancements?